Hello and welcome to The Money Trench, the music industry podcast with me, Mark Sutherland. We hope you had a great Ivors week and enjoyed the start of festival season at Radio 1 Big Weekend or Slam Dunk. Now it's back to business as TMT casts another long look at the music industry. The Money Trench is supported by SOUNDON. SOUNDON is TikTok's all-in-one music distribution and promotion platform for artists and labels. Go to soundon.global to find out more and check out the SOUNDON Track of the Week in the TMT newsletter. And the Money Trench is also supported by Tixel, the honest ticket exchange and waitlist, helping artists own their audience and protect fans from touts. Go to tixel.com to find out more and check out the Tixel Gig of the Week in the TMT newsletter. And we support Earth%, the music industry's climate foundation. Check earth%.org to find out more. And this week, we're coming to you from a very special event, the inaugural Tixel and TMT Music Industry Retreat, held at the beautiful Cowdray Estate in West Sussex. We are recording live on day one of the retreat in front of an audience of 15 industry leaders from management companies, promoters and booking agencies. Give us a cheer, please. There you go, great stuff. And we've been discussing some of the challenges and opportunities facing the industry right now. So of course, this week's guest had to be a true music industry game changer. He set up his own management company, record label and publisher in 2017 in Manchester and has since enjoyed huge success with the likes of Aitch, Mist and Wiz the MC, as well as helping change attitudes to northern talent and music businesses. Please welcome the founder and CEO of NQ, the one and only Michael Adex.
Thank you, Mark, for the lovely introduction.
Hello, Adex. Welcome to the show. How's your music week been so far? You're just back from New York, aren't you?
Yes. Lots of travel and ramping up for summer as well. So, yeah, it's been good. Thank you.
Okay. And how is it being out in the countryside with a group of your peers?
I mean, the sun's out, lovely views, and yeah, lots of nice people to meet and talk to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, TMT and Tixel arranged this weather specifically for
I heard.
Yeah. That's the power we have now. But great stuff. Let's see what the rest of the music biz has been up to with our roundup of the latest industry headlines. And our first story comes from Music Week, which reports on Ed Sheeran's departure from Warner Music after 15 years. The singer-songwriter, one of the biggest stars on the Warner roster, of course, and indeed in the world, says it's not a disgruntled artist leaves record label type situation, while Atlantic co-president Ed Howard, who signed Sheeran 15 years ago, said Warner would stand squarely in Ed's corner as he steps into the next chapter. Adex, you're a manager and a label boss, and you had dealings with Ed Sheeran, so you can probably see it from all sides. What do you think has happened here?
Yeah, I've had the fortune of meeting Ed. What a lovely guy to start off with, by the way. Yeah, I mean, you know what they say, naturally, everything good does come to an end. So, 15 years at one place is obviously a testament to everyone involved. Because in the music business, it's easy to fall out with people if you don't get on with them. So yeah, obviously to see what he's done over the last 15 years is, again, having worked with him up close as well and seeing it in the flesh and just how nice he is as a person is like amazing to really see. Obviously, he's made his choices for his reasons, and I'm sure everyone respects that who's involved. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does next, really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there've been a lot of personnel changes at Warner in recent times.
Yep.
Do you think that would have played into the decision?
I think so, and obviously just from what I know from a business perspective of Ed and what I've seen and the small interactions I've had with him, naturally with a lot of conversations around other people's deals and structures, and obviously, as you said, changes in the industry is a wide thing as well. He may have his thoughts about how he wants to do business going forward, and maybe want to have their own ideas of how they want to do business. And I usually say if a deal needs two parties to get done, so if one person feels another way, then I guess the deal doesn't get done. So who's in that part of that conversation had felt a different way, I don't know. But, I'm sure Ed will figure it out, and he's all right. He's going to be all right in it going forward.
Well, I don't think he'll be short of offers from elsewhere. A lot of rumours flying around about where he might go. Where do you think he would sign next?
Ooh, good question. I mean, there's a plethora of options nowadays, isn't it? You can go the whole independent route fully. You can do it through, one of the affiliated independent companies that all the majors have. But then also, you can maybe do another major label. I don't know what he fancies, but I'm sure no one's going to turn down Ed, so he'll find a way to get the right deal for him.
You're going to get in there with an offer for NQ?
Man, I'd have to look deep down into the couch to find some money for him.
Fair enough. Well, you never know. Never know,
man. Yeah.
Chance your arm. It might work. But next up, IQ magazine reports on the House of Commons Business and Trade Committee report that urges the Competition and Markets Authority to investigate potentially monopolistic behaviour in the live industry. The report takes aim at Live Nation in particular and says there is a climate of fear in the sector. The CMA does not have to do what the committee says, of course, but told IQ it was giving active and careful consideration to an investigation. Adex, there's been a lot of stuff like this going on in the live sector. What do you make of it all?
I mean, there's been lots of conversation on obviously Live Nation's kind of monopolistic kind of work that they've done in terms of the owning the whole ecosystem. It's definitely above my pay grade. I think I've got my own opinions in regards to obviously how the Ticketmaster situation works, even booking fees. I've always kind of been very, even from the early on when I was kind of just getting my head around how things work, meeting our agents for the first time and having conversations around where tickets get sold and, understanding where the data is owned and all these kind of things. But again, definitely at that time, it was definitely beyond my kind of expertise in regards to getting involved. But I do feel, more and more there's more power for artists independently being able to own their stuff, and these kind of conversations and things coming up for people to be able to make choices of their own and not having to kind of be dealt with by one person who's kind of controlling the whole market is a good thing for everyone.
Yeah. So you'd welcome more competition than there currently is.
100%. Yeah, I think it's important. I think for people to get true value, there needs to be more options. And I'm always someone that believes in value. I think, there's a lot of conversation we've had during this retreat in regards to who does what and what percentages and this and that. And obviously is always up to the individual to decide what they're willing to pay someone or what they're happy to pay someone. But it all lies with value, and you're not going to get that if only one person's in the race.
Yeah, and that your artists obviously are out there playing live. They're touring. How important is it to their business? Are you making most of your money on the live side now, or is it still recordings?
Every artist is different, and obviously we work across all sectors of the industry in terms of publishing, management, and records. So I think I'm quite well placed to understand all sides of it. And obviously, especially with management, because we have to deal with it from a management perspective. And every artist is different now. You got artists that are just purely recording artists where they stream really well. And with those kind of artists, it's more beneficial to focus on the recording side and making sure you're getting the most on the back end. Because maybe on the live side or the merch side, they don't have the kind of, audience or the fan base to be able to demand or be able to make as much money that they would on the recording side. Whereas other artists is all flipped around. So I think it's individualistic to the artist and understanding, their audience is where it starts and understanding the kind of things that their audience are kind of wanting. So yeah, it's all different. But I think obviously for the ones that touring is important for, having the right partners and stuff involved in what we're trying to do in regards to getting them to those, bigger venues and hopefully arenas one day is obviously massively important to work with the right team.
Okay, well, we will keep an eye on that story at TMT, but our final story, Music Business Worldwide, reports about Spotify and Universal Music Group signing a new landmark deal, allowing fans to create AI-powered covers and remixes of songs from participating artists and songwriters. The new tool will be a paid add-on for Spotify premium users, with Salucin Grange saying the move is firmly artist-centric, rooted in responsible AI, and will drive growth for the entire ecosystem. Adex, where do you stand on AI?
Yeah, I mean, on AI in general, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's something that will need to be embraced by force because it's not going to go anywhere. I think AI in music, I have my views on what I think is a moral way of using it, I would say. I think people who are making music purely using AI in totality, I think that's just wrong. I think people who are utilizing, especially songwriters, I think, who are utilizing AI to maybe get the music out that they've kept written in their vault or have placed with artists that, ultimately it's on them whether they're going to release it, and having an outlet to do that and release it through AI, I think is a great option for them. I think how people get compensated for that, because ultimately AI is obviously trained from something. I think that obviously needs to be kind of reconfigured or figured out, which is obviously more of a legislation thing or, the music industry kind of figuring out in totality, whether that's a black box kind of situation or whatever. But I think also to be able to, because I did read that article as well, and my first thought was that, okay, how does that work in terms of universal artists? Do they get to opt in, or is it just, obviously they do get to opt in?
I think they have to opt into it.
Yeah, which I think, again, it's fair, because then that way allows the artist individually to decide, cool, do I want to be part of this? Interestingly, in terms of the kind of formula of what it actually allows you to do, or the fans allows you to do, is something I actually kind of always thought about, because I think over the last few years we've seen so many different derivatives of like music come out from either remixes that fans are making online and they go viral, and then obviously the artist teams or the labels decide whether to release it or not, but then also then that being more of a purposeful thing in terms of being part of the rollout. So where you see like 3 packs of like the regular record and the slowed down version or a sped up version, and obviously remixes have always existed since the start of time, but I think it's a smart move to kind of incorporate that in a formal way now.
Will you be encouraging your artists to sign up for it?
Yeah, why not? I think it's all about the individual. Some artists may not want to participate, and that's obviously entirely up to them, but I think having the option is great.
Yeah, I mean, I went to the Ivor Novello Awards last week, and there was a lot of artists and songwriters speaking out against AI. It's obviously one of those quite divisive topics.
Yeah.
Do you worry about the effect it will have on your artists? Do you think they're going to lose money from it, or is it something that's going to be a money spinner down the line?
No, I think this should be part of the monetization of it. I think in regards to when you look at it from a consumer perspective, I know there's a lot of talk online about, even from comments you see, that people don't want AI, or like, they have their opinions on it. But I feel like actions speak louder than words, and realistically, like, there's so many artists that knowingly or unknowingly, you're listening to and you like the music and it's AI. I think what I would love to see is just the transparency of knowing what you're listening to. I think that's the important thing. And I think you already seen it on different platforms like Instagram. I don't know if you've seen like certain imagery when you post it, if it's used AI, it automatically flags it on the actual post. And I think that just allows the actual consumer to be able to, voluntarily, involve themselves in something that they actually know what it is, rather than just like, supporting something they may not believe in supporting, So I think that's where I would love to see, or what I would love to see implemented. I think in terms of the artists and stuff, again, it's individually up to them whether they want to participate. And then if they do want to participate, there needs to be some sort of structure in regards to how they kind of get how they monetize that participation.
Can you ever envisage a scenario where you sign an AI artist to some element of NQ?
I mean, you have so many different conversations with people, and that some of the stuff I've heard, even when I was in America, like, people are hiring actors now to pretend to be the AI sound. I mean, would I do it? No, I don't. I just feel weird about it personally. But yeah, I think with everything, it's like things are happening, and I'm always someone that I try to control what I can control, and adapt how I work within it based on my moral code. But these obviously are bigger conversations that I think will need to be addressed and will be addressed. How that looks like, only God knows. But obviously I have my thoughts, which I just shared with you. But yeah, I wouldn't be signing no AI artists, no.
Okay, good to hear. Thanks, Adex. Don't forget, for even more music industry insights, sign up to the TMT newsletter at themoneytrench.com. But now it's time to talk to this week's guest, Michael Adex of NQ. Adex, NQ is a successful indie company across records, publishing and management. What do you make of the independent landscape at the moment? Because there's a lot of changes going on, aren't there?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. I think, I've obviously been doing it for like nearly 8 years now, and obviously fully independent, and obviously coming from Manchester as well. It's always been a thing for me to champion, businesses coming outside of, or building from outside of London, just because I feel like there's always been talent that's come from different regions, and it's always a thing where eventually that talent needs to go to where the infrastructure is. And for me, it just never really made sense. Even though I have family in London and something that I could have easily made the step to do, I just felt like, specifically with Manchester, like it's got a lot of heritage from a musical perspective, with obviously all the major bands that have come out of there. Culturally as well, obviously it's two of the biggest football clubs, the nightlife, and everyone seems to always have a Manchester story. So for me, it was just like, that city, why would I want to leave it when, or have to leave it? I think it's again about options of being able to, do what I do from where I'm from. But yeah, it's the independent sector, and obviously what's going on. I think it's great. I think again, it's about options and people being able to have more options than what they used to have. And obviously we've seen over the years, in terms of specifically music labels and stuff like that, there's been obviously a lot of conversation around, the deal structures and, people owning rights and stuff like that. Whereas now, if you want to do a label deal, it's your choice. If you can do a distribution deal, you can go straight to deal. There's so many types of deals you can do. Even now, these independent finance companies as well that can kind of cash advance, against your current catalog. So for me, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. I think all I would always say, in regards to anyone who is thinking about other options, I would always look at the value of what you're trying to extract from the people you're working with, because I always believe it's a mutual thing. If you're paying for something or someone's making money off of you, you obviously should expect something back from them, and obviously vice versa. And then that kind of the details of that just needs to be mutually agreeable. And again, that's obviously up to the individual to decide what that is. But I think, again, having the options from, signing a major label to doing it fully yourself through like a deal or something like that is only a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of independent companies, particularly some of the bigger ones, are getting bought by majors. We've seen Downtown, PS, all these people get snapped up. How do you feel about that? What effect does that have on the ecosystem?
I think obviously record labels and major companies are having to reconfigure how they sit in the market. I think obviously the major labels, they obviously started with obviously just doing direct deals with artists, obviously then imprints, and then, they start buying up obviously independent distributors. All the majors have their own independent distributor, and now they're buying up independent labels to kind of, I don't want to, for lack of a better way of putting it, do their work for them. But again, that's reconfiguring the way they sit in the market. I don't even look at them as record labels no more. I just look at them as banks almost, with just different loan structures. So yeah, I don't think it's a good or bad thing. It just is what it is. I think where I can talk from my perspective, obviously, there's a lot of things I realize in regards to like how I built my business. This year I'm going to turn 30. So a lot of reflections have gone into my kind of short career, and with that,
still so disgustingly young. Alex, come on.
But yeah, obviously with that, it's like, I realized that like I think quite differently to a lot of the people that were my age when I first started, and I've always just been deluded in like whatever I feel like I want to do, I can do it. And obviously a lot of the again, struggles that I see now that I went through, whether that was just from a financial perspective, or it was from a just again being from a whole different city in terms of connections and people you knew or people around you, I always just figured out a way. But for a lot of independents, they're having to do certain things because they can't figure out a different way, and in a world where costs are rising across the board, it's more and more difficult to be heard and really be able to build a business. You no longer afford the time to be able to build over 3, 4, 5 years, not make any money, or be able to make progress to really achieve the things that you can achieve in year 4, year 5. Because again, with this business, it's speculation ultimately. You're investing your time and your finances at times into people you really believe in, and that realization of the outcome that you foresaw can happen at any point. Some happens earlier, some happens later. But obviously, if you don't have that or those resources to really be able to give it the time to really bed in, it's obviously very difficult. So having to do certain deals where, maybe in other situations you wouldn't do them because you don't need to do them. And that's where, again, it takes out the optionality of being able to choose what you want to do. But yeah, I think in general, I think it's great to be able to have the option of being independent, but being independent is definitely not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah, I mean, you said it's hard at the moment. Is that purely a sort of financial thing, or are there other?
I think more and more now is a financial thing, just because obviously, with obviously a lot of the headlines with people selling the catalog more recently, and obviously music becoming much more of an asset class now, or perceived asset class. It's allowed a lot of external finances to kind of enter the kind of industry, which has obviously also increased the prices for a lot of things in terms of, if you're an independent label trying to offer artist deals now, it's like, well, if it was 20k for an album for a 18-year-old doing his thing at the beginning with no music out, 5 years ago, well, now it's definitely not that. If they've got a TikTok going off, it's like, that's a minimum 6-figure deal straight away. So if you're an independent label that doesn't have those resources, how are you able to win? Even if you do have those resources, the advantage is one thing, then you've got the marketing, and again, how much can you sustain that before you see an actual return? And, businesses or labels or companies that have much more of a financial might are able to take those risks because they're spreading across multiple different artists without the need to have a direct or immediate return on that, which in the independent business, if they don't have that, they just can't afford to do it.
Yeah. Is that why you decided to operate across 3 sectors rather than just do a label? You got the publishing, management. Was that sort of kind of spreading your bets in a way?
No, I'm just a busybody, to be fair. Nah. I joke. No, I always think in systems, really, and also I always talk about value. And for me, like if I like someone and I believe in someone, I don't really care how I work with him. I don't care if I manage you. I don't care if I publish you. I don't care if I work with you on records. I'll probably do the same thing anyway. Obviously, the actual function of the actual business relationship is different across all of them, which you have to obviously understand. You got to get the fundamentals right, but it's about the value you can add on top. Because again, just doing the fundamentals right is a prerequisite of even being able to say you do that, I think. But to be able to really stand out and actually help the artists get to where they need to get to, you have to add value beyond that. And that can come in so many different ways now. Whether that's, getting them in a movie sync, and I might be the label, cool. Obviously, I maybe participate on the master side, but it's not necessarily my core function. But I will do it if I can, because it benefits the artist, and which ultimately benefits me. And that's kind of the value that I always think about in regards to what I do. But, to answer your question, that it's more just being able to have the opportunity to obviously understand the business opportunity in regards to having all those 3 things. But it's also to be able to say I can do it. And if I want to work with someone and they've maybe got a manager already or they've got a label, cool, let's do your publishing, let's work and be an extension of your team.
Yeah. Nice one. Well, let's talk about how you got started, because you originally were going to be a footballer, right?
Yeah.
Where did it all go wrong?
No, I didn't. I don't think it went wrong. I think I'm all right. I'm sat in the countryside speaking to you. But no, I played, up until 16, 17, and I've still got a lot of friends in the game, and I'm an avid United fan. Big up the Reds. But yeah,
Manchester United fan, actually from Manchester.
Yes, yeah.
It's a novelty.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, but obviously you still have, a lot of friends in the game and love football, and it's something that I definitely want to get back into eventually. I think for me, when I was kind of playing and when I was young, I was definitely a lot more, how do I say it, arrogant than I am now. I think that kind of journey of not making it allowed me to really reassess how I approach things. I think I didn't really apply myself the best when I was playing, hence obviously not making it to where I would have wanted to make it. But also it was very easy for me to leave because I also knew I had the skills to do other things, whereas maybe some of my other friends at the time wanted to carry on to try and achieve their dreams that they wanted to do, whereas I just thought I'd just do something else, and I can always get back into sports in other ways. But yeah, football is definitely a big passion of mine still.
And then you did a bit of acting. You started a YouTube channel. But
yeah.
What was it about the music business side of things that eventually sort of pulled you in? And
I mean through when I was playing football and stuff, I've always loved music as well. I always say music is like the soundtrack of life. I think everyone has their own favorite band or favorite artist that they listen to, no matter what you do. You can work at an office in a 9-to-5 job, probably like music. You want to go to a gig and things like that. So that's obviously something that always stuck with me. And you mentioned and touched on the other stuff I've done. I've always been a very curious person. I've always been very interested to understand why things are how they are. And how money is made and the fascination behind like you can make money from anything. And then when I kind of realized that, like I was like, well, I'd rather just make money from things I actually enjoy. And with that, trying different things, allows you to also understand what you don't want to do, I think. Because I think that's an easier question to answer than what you do want to do at like 18 years old. It's what you don't want to do. So trying all those different things, I took things from it and stuff that I really definitely still have passions for in different ways. But music was something that like I always just loved and enjoyed. And it was a bit easier than maybe some of the other things that I did try, that I enjoyed aspects, but not the full spectrum of it. So yeah, going into music was kind of like an easy choice, and because I was around it and I was making loads of friends in it, I was kind of open to a lot of things that maybe like if you were kind of looking at it from the outside, you wouldn't be. I was discovering loads of talent on SoundCloud and all these different kind of pages at the time, and through that I made a lot of relationships with artists that then went on to do tours across the UK. So I'd follow them around and be kind of part of the entourage in a sense. But I've always been someone I never wanted to just be around just to be around. So I always looked at ways I could like add value. Again, something that I'll probably say a lot during this conversation. So I'll do like little things like if they're coming to Manchester, obviously, take care of them, take them out, but then also be like, well, let's do like a meet and greet for your fans here and organise that for them. And again, going on tour with them and then seeing the kind of different cities across the UK was also a great experience for me, and a big reason why I actually stayed in Manchester as well.
Yeah. Do you think it helped, the fact that you'd been in a situation where you were the talent in football?
Oh, yeah.
Did that help you sort of empathise with what artists were doing?
Actually, not initially, to be fair. Initially, it was such a... Can I swear on this?
Yeah, go for it.
It was such a mind fuck, to be fair, because, like, again, being the talent, you just go there and do your thing. But obviously, having to speak to the talent and convince them on things really taught me how to communicate or better communicate. But it was very frustrating, and it still is to this day. But this is why also, like, I'm very picky with who I work with, man. Like, I think I always say, like, help is and advice is free. I'll give that for free. I don't really mind. Like, I'm always someone like, you know, my phone's always on. Like, you can message me. I'm not precious about you asking me questions. But to say I work,
you're saying that in a room full of people. So be careful.
I mean, I might start charging if it gets too many. But yeah, like, I'm not precious about that. But when it comes to, like, you know, me working with you, I say that very seriously, because I always do say, like, you know, especially with talent, where I'm kind of part of their team or the extension of the team, they're putting their trust in me to help them achieve their goals. It's like I can have as many artists as I want. They've got one career. So for me, it's like, I don't take that very lightly. So if I say yes to them, I have to really believe I can help them out. Otherwise, I'd just rather just help you out for free in it and not have to have that obligation to be the person you ring because things aren't going well or things are going well. I think it's important to make that decision and really believe in that decision.
Yeah. That's a refreshing attitude, which will never catch on in the music industry. But now, most people, when they're getting into the business, they try and get a job somewhere. Yeah. You know, they go and work for a big company or, you know, intern somewhere. But why did you decide to set up your own company from the start? That's a pretty bold thing to do, right?
As I said, I was very deluded, man. Yeah, I've always just believed in myself. So I think and I think obviously over the years I've just realized a lot that I just understand things a bit quicker maybe than other people. So with that, it's like, even for me, when I think back to some of the things I've done, it's like, I don't even know how I knew I could, not that I could do that, how I knew how to do that. But it's just because I don't know. For me, I just look at the factual side of things and the nuances, and then you know, you figure out the middle ground of it all. Yeah.
And you did it in Manchester at a time when I guess the industry wisdom was you got to move to London to make it in the music industry. Have you enjoyed proving them wrong?
I mean, I always find myself saying "I told you so," but it's not even enjoyment. I think it's like it's great to see. It's like even more recently, obviously with the Brits coming to Manchester and the mobiles and obviously all the amazing things that the city's kind of going through in regards to growth. It's just like a thing like, oh yeah, I was kind of right in it, but it's surreal to see it actually happening in a sense. So, but yeah, it's definitely not like an ego thing. It's just more like, yes, I genuinely believed it would happen and it's happening. So it's great.
Yeah. Were you pleased to see the Brits and the Mobos?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's the first time ever it's happened, you know. So that's a big monumental thing for the biggest music award show in the UK to be in Manchester for the first time ever outside of London. Yeah.
And do you think that's a sustainable thing? I guess, you know, Manchester's had moments. I'm old enough to remember when the music press went up on the train to Manchester every weekend to cover the scene up there. But is it sustainable? Is it something going to stay here, or are the Brits going to move on somewhere else, do you think?
Well, the Brits is there next year again, so I know that. I think beyond that, obviously, it's not about necessarily an event being there. It's about infrastructure being there. And obviously, we're one of very few people that are still there and based there. But that's obviously something I'm taking in my own hands as well. Obviously, I'm very good friends with the mayor, Andy Burnham, and been speaking to Bev Craig as well at the city council. So, you know, there's a lot of conversations happening around how we kind of not just, you know, create talent, because that's never been the issue. It's about keeping talent there, but not just talent from the front-facing perspective in terms of artists, but also executives and all the different other roles within the music business that, you know, is possible for people to get involved in.
Yeah. Well, Andy might be Prime Minister soon, maybe.
Fingers crossed, let's see.
Yeah, then he'll have to move to London, ironically. Or maybe not.
Or maybe not, yeah. Bring down the street to Manchester.
Yeah. And do you think the fact that you were one of the few sort of music companies up outside of London, did that give you an advantage when it came to talent from Manchester and other places? Was actually better for you than did it give you sort of, advantage over the London labels?
Weirdly not, no. I think in terms of proximity, yeah, but it's still a case of, because for all the reasons why I stayed, it's all the reasons why it's also not, because, at the end of the day, it's only 2 hours on a train, so if you did care to get on a train or get in a car, you can get down to London. Obviously, a lot of the artists that have come out of Manchester post my kind of getting into the business, I've obviously got personal relationships and I've kind of helped them along the way. Obviously, from a business perspective, I think, again, because of maybe the lack of resources I had myself as well at the time, doing business is then a different conversation, because as much as people may respect you and have a conversation with you and hear you out, money talks.
Yeah, well, that's always true, isn't it? But talking of that, I guess a lot of major labels are now sort of setting up northern labels and northern outposts and stuff like this. Does that bother you that they're kind of moving onto your turf?
No, not at all. I think it's a good thing if it's done with the right intentions. I think everything's always about intention and value, because there's no point, just coming up to set up a building and nothing's happening in it. So I think it's about actually coming up with intention to actually, create opportunities and make things happen in the city and give people opportunities.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how you built NQ up, because it's very impressive for you, because you did literally start from scratch, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't have any outside help really when you started, did you?
No.
How tough was that to get it up and running?
I never thought about that. I was just deluded in it. So I just done it. I didn't really think about how hard something is and whatever. It's like, if I need to figure out a way to do something, I will. And I've still got that kind of mindset. I think it's just more now with the experience I have and also the extra resources and the contacts I've got to be able to look at, cool, how can we leverage the things we've built already to build even more. So I'm really excited about the next kind of phase of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build into. So yes, it's exciting.
Did you try and get finance from elsewhere when you were starting? Or?
Yeah, but more specifically from music companies. So that was obviously always a conversation in regards to my relationships with obviously all the music executives, across the different labels and having conversations. And I think, there's a lot of them have obviously been, good people to speak to and people to be able to, get advice from and things like that. But I think there's a difference between really believing in something and trying something out, and I think that goes back to the question you asked before in regards to labels being set up in the north. I think sometimes people can see trends or certain things happen. It's I need to get involved, but do you actually want to get involved? I think there's a distinction between the two. Not to say that that's been my experience. It's just obviously a good time now where there's other options that you can take in regards to looking at ways to get the resources.
Yeah, and obviously you've turned NQ into a very successful company. Why has it taken off in the way it has, do you think?
I think, again, the speculation is business, innit? We believe in the things we believed in and we've got lucky along the way. And I believe in making your own luck. I believe in being proactive in what you do, believing in what you do and really speaking things into existence. And it's weird, every year we've always had success that's quite unexpected. And I say unexpected because it's not I wouldn't have put money on it, but we definitely I could explain it. We put ourselves in positions for those things to occur. And again, at the basis of what I always think about doing is making sure we add value on the things we're working on. And with that, hopefully people speak well about you and the opportunities come through just those things in different ways. So yeah, it is a lot of randomness, but that is the business we're in, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, your big breakout success was Aitch,
yeah,
obviously. So how did you find him? How did you?
Yes, I've known him since he's 14. So again, this is around the time I stopped playing football, and this is around the era where grime was still happening, and there was a lot of underground sets and open mic nights and things, and that's kind of where we first met. And obviously at the time in Manchester, obviously everyone knew that I knew artists that were kind of more established. So he was just naturally just someone that, was asking me for advice and things. And this is before I decided to get into music, which was just someone people knew and I knew people. So I was networking without even realizing I was doing it at the time. And yeah, through that, it's we built a relationship. And then when I decided to start my business, but stay in Manchester, it was have talented artists came around me that are just as talented as some of the people I've met, through just the networking I was doing. So I was yeah, let me pick up with you and then let's go.
And did you sort of always think he was going to be a massive star?
Yeah, no, definitely. I always believe that. I think it's weird because, my mentality shift for when I approached music from the learnings I learned from obviously the football career not panning out. For me, it was much more of a focus on the actual work and the substance of what we're doing. And with him, it was quite funny because like, I didn't. It wasn't a thing of like we're trying to chase like all these like top 10 hits and things like that. It was actually more of a thing of like, I used to actually say a lot of times like, oh, like Aitch is so sick, but I don't know what I'll do with him. But it's like, but that's the thing of like sometimes just believing in someone like in terms of like they're just good. And if I think they're good, there's probably 100,000 people at least out there that think he's good. So it's finding those people. And for me, it was never around about like again, trying to make him this massive superstar and all these different things. It's just about finding that audience and really building it. Obviously, how things transpired in regards to like, him wanting to sign at the time to a label and things like that, changed the course of how we had to approach things. And, you can't say it's for the worse, you can't say it's for the better. But also understanding from my experience now with having gone through all that is, it's also important that it's the artist is at the center of what you're doing. I think it's very different because I do like to study like the game and I did it before I even got into it. You look at the mediums of how artists were kind of pushed in or pushed through before and how those mediums were a lot more controlled than what they are now. It's very different in terms of how you can approach an artist achieving that mega stardom to how it was done back then. There's a lot of artists back then, like maybe if you met them, they're totally different to what they were portrayed as. Whereas now it's kind of harder to fake that. So it has to come from the artist. And obviously he's just someone like what you see is what he is. He's not changed since I first met him. And, he was a natural star. So it's not a surprise to me that he's become what he's become.
Yeah, I mean, you the two of you obviously have a great relationship. I remember seeing you on stage at Beyond the Music together.
Sometimes we have a great relationship, yeah.
All right, well, we'll get into that in a minute. But when it's working, why does it work so well, do you think?
Nah, it works, man. Again, it's kind of part of me being picky as well. He listens. Like, all I ask for the artist to listen. If they listen, then we can get on. If you don't listen, then it's going to be very difficult for me to be able to work with you. And obviously there's a nuance to that as well in terms of like, I'm not saying do everything I say. It's a conversation. It's I'm here to lay out the pros and cons. Ultimately, it's your career. But, if you ask me for what we should do and I tell you, or if I believe something very strongly and you do listen, then it's something that, for me is a good working relationship. But yeah, he's someone that he's hard worker. He's someone who listens and yeah, it's quite easy when it's easy.
How often do you disagree?
You know what, with him, I think it's not that we disagree. It's, again, understanding that I understand things differently. And sometimes it takes people a bit more of a time to understand things than others. And sometimes as well, with artists, it's like, and with people, we're here to add value to them. And ultimately, if they don't need us, then, what's the point of us being there? And sometimes I forget that. So, sometimes I have to kind of make the decision for him because he doesn't know, So I think it's not even a disagreement. It's just more like it can be quite tedious to explain things to him. Where it's like he doesn't understand it or not. And it's not even to say he doesn't understand it. It's more like, again, it's what makes me good at what I do, I guess, innit? And him, if he asked me to write some lyrics, I wouldn't know how to do that, So if he's going to ask me, or if I'm going to ask him to make certain decisions, he's probably not going to know fully the extent of why you should do certain things over other things. But that's, again, why it works, because he will listen. At the point, I'm like, no, just do this.
Yeah. And obviously he was recently on I'm a Celebrity.
That's right? Probably the perfect example of him listening. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that your? So was that
yeah,
your
he didn't
idea?
want to do that. No. Yeah. And I understand why. Obviously, it's a whole different thing. And obviously, those shows have always historically been known as like where careers go to die. But obviously, for me, it's like understanding that the macro kind of shift in regards to the entertainment industry, where we've seen so many different like. You got like YouTubers making music now and musicians making content. It's all one pot, and everyone's different. Some artists are just artists, but that's, again, that should come from them, And I'd rather an artist tell me no, and I know it's a no, because in that way it's like, cool, that's what you want to do, and you have to respect that. But if you're wishy-washy about something, you don't know. So I want to know for you, really, really and truly, in terms of what makes sense for you as a career, you know. And everyone is different in terms of what they want, but I can tell you, H likes money. So with that, it's like, you know, he's obviously a very likable person, and again, with understanding the macro changes in terms of how things are working, it's the attention economy, you know, and he's obviously dibbled and dabbled in different ways to kind of showcase his personality in the past, but at that time it wouldn't have been right because you're still actively, you know, he hadn't even released his first album yet, you know. So yeah, the time made sense, and obviously, you know, he finished fourth, and you know, he gained like 1 million followers off of the back of that across different platforms, and off the back of that, there's a lot of exciting things that are to come that we'll be announcing soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, has that sort of taken his career to a different level and to a different audience, maybe?
Yeah, 100%. He's always had a varied audience, I would say, but now it's like stamped. Yeah. Definitely stamped. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, and you work with lots of other people. What do you look for in a signing?
Someone who listens. But no, I say that, but also it's obviously I'm a very ambitious person, so I want to work with people that are ambitious, that want to achieve things. It's funny, you know, one of our latest like signings was the MC. He obviously had a massive record last year and followed that up with a few more hits as well. So he's currently touring North America. That's why I was in the US. And he's probably more deluded than me, to be honest with you. But it's great, you know, like if you don't believe in it, then you can't expect me to believe in it. And ultimately, again, as I said, it's like artists have one career. I can have as many artists as I want. So for me, it's like working with people who are passionate, people who want to do things and who are hardworking. It allows me to, you know, want to get out of bed and do the best I can to add value to what you're doing.
Yeah, and that work ethic's important to you, right? I heard you had I think around the same time as Aitch, you had another artist that was probably as talented, but didn't sort of embrace the opportunities that you were lining up, right?
Yeah, that was a big learning curve. There's an artist called Samurai. So Sam was an artist that is from the same area as Aitch. At the time, he was making real moves and making a lot of noise in the UK rap space. And, you know, it was the kind of formula back then was like, you get 1 million views on YouTube and you're kind of out of it. You know, it feels like a long time ago now. But
those simple days.
Yeah, simple days, man. And, you know, he was kind of teetering on like, you know, consistently you drop a video and you do like 200,000 in a month, you know, more than that at times. And that was really, really good to do it consistently, especially understanding again, like, you know, not naturally consumers like maybe specific records. They may not necessarily always familiar with the artist or so. So for him to like have a kind of flat rate of just doing 200,000 every time it releases a record was really promising. But obviously he was someone that, and naturally again, he, you know, coming from where we come from and being in places where maybe you don't see many examples of what can be achieved, and then obviously no one's necessarily like putting huge money in your pocket to say, cool, stop doing whatever else you're doing and do this. You know, his kind of attention to listen to a crazy man like me saying just focus on music and doing that when he hasn't seen an example of someone doing it, obviously it's very difficult. And even at the time, I was literally paying him to put music up. You know, that's how much like I believed in what he was doing. But it was a very frustrating thing in regards to like, you know, seeing someone do well, seeing someone who has talent to take it to the next level if they just apply themselves, and them not doing that. And I always remember when I first ever went to New York, it was on a family trip, and I was with my sister, who's my older sister, who's someone I still speak to a lot about issues I have because she gives great advice. And we were just walking through Central Park, and I was just telling her about all the different things that were happening with Sam and stuff like that, and all the opportunities that were coming that he wasn't really like embracing in the way that I thought you'd be stupid not to. And she just looked at me after I rambled for about, I don't know, God knows how long. And she was just like, well, if it's not working, just don't force it. And I was like, yo, that's like actually true. Yeah. Like such a simple way of looking at it, but it's true, you know? And I think it allowed me to also realize, wait, like, you know, as much as, yeah, it's the talent, but the value I add is obviously very, very important. So I can't dismiss that because I want someone to win for themselves. So, you know, after the trip, we came back, and I kind of was like, cool, I'll give it 2 more weeks. If it doesn't work, then I'll stop working with him. And then, you know, lo and behold, it didn't really work out. We stopped working, and then maybe the next week after, you know, he ends up in some trouble, and now he's like doing a long time in prison. And it's really weird because even with that, it's like I think I wasn't too familiar with the full details of the case, but you know, for the time he got, like it was definitely a sign, you know. So for me, I took that on as like, yeah, cool. I'll never force anything again in regards to forcing to work with someone or whatever. It's not, yeah, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think these days, obviously, people need work ethic to make it alongside talent? But it's hard. You say it's hard to run an independent company. It's hard to make a living as an artist. Now, isn't it? Do your artists, they stream very well, but do they make money from streaming? Are they making enough money from streaming?
Yeah. So obviously, again, that's part of my job. It's know where the money's at, and I'm quite good at that, I'd say, if you ask them. So yeah, it's about obviously the deal structures you put in place, understanding the business in general. Because again, certain artists, as I said before, have different business models. Some artists are, you know, just recording artists where they stream really well. So maybe doing a deal where, you know, your royalties are tied up and you're recouping for life probably doesn't make sense. So maybe doing a more artist favorable deal where you're seeing your back end and you're continuously able to, you know, see your royalties, and maybe further down the line, if you want to sell your catalog fully or do a partial deal, there's opportunities to do that. But then that's one approach for one person and very different for another person. But we tailor what we can do for everyone, but also make sure we try and communicate and educate them on that, just so they understand for themselves. So every decision we're making is for their own long-term benefit. And again, even with that, it's about understanding what they're even trying to achieve in the first place. Because, you know, I think it's like driving a car, you don't know where you're going. It's like eventually you run out of fuel and like you'd be stuck anywhere. You just landed, you know. So for me, it's important that, you know, we actually know where we're trying to go first, and then tailoring every decision to that, and then going.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of partnerships over the years. You work with the majors, don't you? Yeah. You work with Universal Publishing, Columbia on the record side, the Orchard Distribution, Creamfields, you're working on a new label. What makes for a good partnership in that context? Because I guess a lot of independent companies maybe don't do that sort of thing. Yeah. How do you pick one that's going to work for everybody?
Do you want the truth?
Yeah, always.
I always judge it off like working. Well, first and foremost, working with people I like. That's the first thing. But then also important that, like, you know, you have to mitigate risk in it, so somebody's not going to fuck it up, basically. So yeah, I think with that, the details in the devil's in the detail. That's it. So it's about looking at making sure the deal that we're doing doesn't like kind of hinder anything that we're doing naturally anyway. So every partnership we've always done, like, it's just been an extension of what we do rather than like our main focus, if you know what I mean.
And what have you learned from working with those big companies, would you say? Do they do things very differently to how you do, or is it just...
In regards to that, no, I've not learned anything that I didn't know before. It's probably worse than I thought it'd be.
Okay.
Yeah. But then that's not to say it's just a different way of doing things. And also I'm very good at looking at the other side in regards to vicariously putting myself in other people's shoes and understanding the structure of major labels and the incentives. It's obvious why things how they are. But yeah, I mean, I've learned.
But you're happy with how they've all.
Yeah, like happy. I ain't got. As I said, it's not disrupted anything that I've done. I think one thing I have learned, or not necessarily learned, but the great thing I've gained from it is relationships and with those individuals and those people, because everyone is I haven't met anyone. Again, that's kind of the premise of the deals I've done anyway. So I was predicated on the good people that I've done a deal with. So being able to have a relationship with them, even if it hasn't worked out long term, it's been great.
Yeah. I mean, last time I interviewed you on stage at Beyond the Music, again in Manchester, Tony Harlow, who was running Warner at the time, basically offered you a job.
He didn't.
On stage. Would running a major interest you at some point?
I don't know. I can't. If the offer's there, I'll think about it. If it's not, there's nothing to think about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm someone that I'll always hear it out.
Yeah.
I'll always hear it out.
Do you have a plan for where you want NQ to be in 5 years, 10 years time? Yeah,
like, again, it's kind of how I started, didn't it? My vision for it was always about doing the things or working on the things I love. So, music, film, TV, sports, media, that's it.
Okay. So you've got plans to make it?
Eventually, there's no rush, but yeah, like, that's what I want to get involved in, yeah.
Yeah. And how big can it be, do you think, if you look back at, some of the indie labels and maybe even a factory or something, they were really competing with the majors from Manchester. Can you get it to that sort of level?
I believe so. Yeah.
What's it going to take to get you there?
Some cash.
Okay. Well, have you had any offers? People trying to buy the company?
There's conversations, but it's not. Yeah, there's conversations. Yeah, but it's about the right people and the right resources. And yeah, like it's funny because obviously I know what I know and what's in my head and my vision is my vision. And it's the same way that I might look at an artist and they're telling me they want to sell out Wembley Stadium and I can look at them, they're crazy, innit? But if I believe, I believe, So in that same way, it's like, whoever, we're speaking to or having conversation about partnering or whatever the case is, it's just about people that actually believe in what we're doing. But yeah, I definitely believe we can achieve the things that I've got planned there.
Yeah. But you wouldn't rule out selling it. Is that what you're saying?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Send me an offer first and we can talk. Not now. No, definitely not now. No, not anytime soon.
Okay. There'll be people listening who will now send you an offer, by the way. But,
let's see.
Yeah. And what's next? What's coming up?
What's coming up? I mean, it's my 30th birthday in July.
Happy birthday.
The World Cup is coming up. So I will be gallivanting around the US for 2 months.
Okay.
Trying to do some work. I'm only saying that because we're on the podcast. I'm not doing any work.
Yeah. Excellent. And Aitch, where's?
Yeah, he is releasing a single on June the 12th. And then, we've got a few things we're going to be announcing, hopefully soon. And some exciting things coming.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Well, thanks, Adex. Please stick around. Latest or greatest is coming right up. And if you're enjoying The Money Trench, supported by SOUNDON and Tixel, please give us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice, as it really does help us keep making this podcast. But now it's time for a quickfire round with our guest, Michael Adex of NQ. Adex, this is called Latest or Greatest. You can decide to talk about either the most recent or the all-time best music biz thing that you've experienced in these categories. So the latest, start with this one, it's meant to be easy, but rarely is. A latest or greatest record that you've bought?
Only thing I can think about is Drake, the Drake album. Yeah, that was obviously very highly touted and talked about. And I actually liked it.
But he released 3.
Yeah, he released 3. Iceman. Yeah.
Okay.
The other 2, not as much. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think they were just a contractual obligation?
Yeah, they were. I think it was smart on a lot of levels. It's almost like a double entendre in the sense of definitely probably a contractual thing in terms of getting out of his deal with them, but also understanding the position he was in post obviously the whole Kendrick Lamar thing. He needed a win, and obviously understanding the magnitude of the moment, and everyone definitely would have listened to it at some point or taken it in. The more music you release, the more chance you have of catching something to work, and I feel like it's worked for him.
Okay.
I mean, he's got 3 albums in the top 3. He's the only ever person to ever do it.
Yeah,
outside of Michael Jackson. To debut though, only ever person to do it. And singles wise, I don't know how many he's got in the top 100, but I'm pretty sure the whole album's in there somewhere. So all 3 albums. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yes, sounds like it has worked. The latest or greatest gig or festival that you've been to?
So prior to going to New York, the day before, I was in Paris and I went to a show by an artist called Tyke, and he was definitely the best show I've ever been to. Amazing.
That one of your artists?
No, it's a friend of mine. So, but he's huge over in France. Okay. But yeah, it was an amazing show. It made me actually think I need to go to more shows. Yeah.
Again, people are going to email you now. But good
hey,
stuff.
I'll take free tickets, don't worry.
Your latest or greatest music biz boss? Well, you've kind of always been your own boss, but I'm sure you've met a few music industry bosses in your time. There's a few of them in this room right now. Choose carefully.
You know who I like? I watched I'm sometimes it's hard for me to think and answer the question with total memory. So I kind of think about the recent things I've seen. But I did see an interview on a channel called The Boardroom, which is a company owned by Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman. And they interviewed Steve Stout. And I really liked his perspective on a few things. So I would say Steve Stout. Yeah.
What grabbed you about what he was saying in particular?
My memory is not the greatest. I forgot already. Okay. But it was I just liked some of the things he was saying. Yeah.
Nice one. Well, as long as I'm sure it's all gone in somewhere.
Yeah, it has. It's internalized.
The latest or greatest mistake that you've made?
Ooh.
Do you make mistakes?
Yeah, I make mistakes all the time. It's not one I made. It's one I nearly made.
Okay.
Yeah. Cancelling this.
That'll do. Yeah. Cancelling well. That would have been a grave error.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling too well, but I'm here now, man. So.
Well, we appreciate you getting through. But is there ever like an artist that you've missed out on, or
nah? I don't really look at stuff like that. What's meant to be for me will be for me, I think. But yeah, it's definitely mistakes. But I don't dwell on mistakes, man. I don't. I just kind of learn and then go again. Okay. Yeah.
Very wise. Very wise. The latest or greatest artist that you have worked with? You've worked with some good ones.
I'd say Wiz. Wiz the MC. As I said, he's more deluded than me, and I think that's quite hard to achieve. so he was. We had a meeting in New York after the first show, and we were just talking about what we're trying to plan, and obviously off the back of him doing his first ever American tour, and just all the good things that we've got planned. He's obviously got a China tour coming up, which is sold out already. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation about how to pivot on certain things that we're doing, but he was very headstrong in his opinion, and I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, his career seemed to blow up really quickly.
Yeah.
Were you expecting that when you got involved?
Yeah. I mean, he's been, the story around him is an interesting one. Even how I met him. So he obviously lives in Germany, and was born in South Africa. And we have a mutual friend who introduced us maybe 3 years ago now. And he was on tour in Europe and happened to be in London. And she was like, "You should meet this guy." And one of my A&Rs actually followed him. So I was like, "Oh, like, who's this?" And he was like, "Oh, he had a record a few years ago that went viral." And he was signed to 10K at the time. Well, at the time the song went viral. And then, we linked up with him. As I said, like, I'm very open to like just conversating and meeting people. That's what I love about this job. And yeah, sat down with him, was like, proper cool guy, man. Like, we got on really well. And, at the time it was just kind of, he didn't know what direction to go. He lived in LA after the song he had, and when he was signed to 10K, then moved back after COVID to Berlin. And obviously he played me a bunch of music, and obviously Show Me Love was one of those songs. And it was, I don't know, it was just something about just how he approached himself, and obviously the person who introduced me to him as well, like, she's someone I really value her opinion. And yeah, from there it was just like, cool, let's see what we can help you out with and build on that. And it's the momentum of the track post that that's actually a year and a half before that track came out, but when he started promoting online and seeing the traction behind it, yeah, it was obviously really exciting. And obviously what he went to go do, like, we got the Tyler feature, the remix with her on it. Then obviously, she brought him out at Coachella. So there's a lot of firsts even for myself as well, which was amazing. But yeah, I'm just happy for him because he's been, grinding for 9-10 years, and not everyone gets a second chance as well. So for him, it's like, to have a record like that, one of the biggest records to come out last year, and then follow that up with, other huge records, and then start the year with another huge record, and on a North American tour with Kid Leroy, 26 dates. It's like testament to him, really and truly.
Yeah, nice one. And the latest or greatest music industry party that you've been to? Do you like a music industry party?
The Brits 2026.
Yeah, okay.
In March. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because you didn't have to, you could walk home.
Exactly. I definitely didn't walk home though, but yeah.
Wait, did you do the Brits itself, or?
So we did a brunch. We did a brunch the day before the Brits. You may have indirectly seen it because Wayne Rooney got papped afterwards, and he was in the sun. Okay. But yeah, he was definitely on his best behavior. But yeah, it was a great kind of day thing that we done just to celebrate the people within the city, but also welcome people coming into the city. And we had a lot of great familiar faces, and yeah, it was great. It was great to be able to celebrate a moment that a lot of people within the city haven't ever had, or had the pleasure to even be around. Obviously, that was my third Brit. I've won a Brit, so it's something that is a privilege that I've had, but to be able to have it on my doorstep was amazing. So we want to celebrate it and have a good kind of environment for people to kind of network and obviously conversate and meet people as well. So yeah, a lot of people enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice one. And we can't let you go without giving us a new music tip as one of the best set of A&R ears out there. I'm guessing you hear a lot of new music. Is there something you're getting particularly excited about?
Not nothing specifically, but what I am like really interested in is just community within music. I think there's a real opportunity or real like window for artists or teams or whatever it is that the terminology you want to use to build together. I think it's so hard now to stand alone, and building together is, I think, such a smarter way to really build value quicker as an entity rather than as one individual. And that doesn't mean form a boy band or something, but I think, again, sharing resources, supporting each other, I think, and creating movements is something that it's going to come back around and people naturally will be excited about.
Excellent. What a lovely idea to end on. But that, sadly, is all we have time for. So a big thank you to our guest, the one and only Adex, Pete.
Thank you.
The Money Trench, the music industry podcast with me, Mark Sutherland, is supported by SOUNDON and Tixel and in support of Earth%. It's produced by Tape Notes and exec produced by Mike Walsh, who's here somewhere, with huge thanks to Sennheiser, the Fourth Pillar, and our friends at Deviate Digital for our social media. The Money Trench music is by the brilliant Tom A. Smith, and to get in touch with us, please email mike@themoneytrench.com. Special thanks this week to Tixel, of course, for partnering with us on this event, and to our audience of top managers, promoters and agents for joining us. Please give us another cheer. Fantastic stuff. There's no let up in the biz this week. South by Southwest London is on all week. Primavera kicks off in Spain. CMA Fest is on in Nashville. It's the CSAC General Assembly. Capital Summertime Ball hits Wembley. The Tony Awards, MT UK launched their latest report, and there are big gigs for Any Young Mechanic Twice, A Perfect Circle, James Morrison, Dermot Kennedy, Laney, Cara Delevingne, it says here, and the world's greatest band, Rilo Kiley. And TMT will be back with another brand new episode on Monday, June 8th, featuring another top exec. It's a hit, as Rilo Kiley would say. We will see you then. Adex, see you in Manchester soon. Let's go and get a drink, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cheers.